My name is Jesper, and I cover IT and technology companies out of our Copenhagen office. And the first company presenting today, out of I think 14 in total, is Penneo, which is a company that I cover. And we are fortunate enough to have the CEO, Christian Stendevad, and the CFO, Kasper Christiansen, with us today. So, guys, please take the stage for 20 minutes or so, and then we do a short Q&A afterwards.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. If you take the next slide, then a little bit about who we are. We are a business-to-business software as a service company based on a subscription model, and we have approximately 2,400 customers. And what we focus on is digital signing and document workflows around that, and then the Know Your Customer or KYC under the anti-money laundering regulation or the AML. So these are our focus area, and we have customers in Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Belgium, and Germany. And we have an aim of becoming the de facto platform for auditors and accounting in across Europe. And we are approximately 90 employees with more than 20 nationalities. So if you take the next slide. The auditors and accounting is our beachhead segment. And what we mean by that is that is really our primary, so where we enter first and where we do our investments. And for those, we have our offerings with our KYC, so Know Your Customer, as one part of it. So they need to onboard all their customers and do the risk assessments as part of the KYC and anti-money laundering. And then they will often have their own systems for doing their annual reports and other things. And then we are then integrated into that with our Penneo Sign, where all documents and workflows around that to get signed, approved, and so on are covered by us. And that we have been investing in from the very beginning. We also have ideas of how we can expand that in the future to other revenue streams and offerings for this one. If you take the next slide. Then as a strategic direction, we have as the target and tier one, we have the auditors and accounting. So that's our primary. But we also have other customer segments, and we have the tier two, that are those that are regulated under anti-money laundering. So those companies like the finance sector, they will have a need both for our sign and in our KYC. And so that's the second tier. And then we see as part of our, when we now have these two with our auditors and accounting especially, we see a network effect of our customers. And what we mean by that is when customers are using our product, then in an auditor and accountant, they send out, for example, all the annual reports. CEOs and board members are seeing that, see how easy and effective that is, and how they stay compliant. And out of that, then often they get, and we get that as inbound leads, a lot of those where they say, okay, we could also use that for our business. And that's what we call the network effect to other industries. So we also have a large portion of our business based on that. If you take the next slide, then this is some numbers of the total addressable market. And what we would like to say with this, these numbers are based on both the digital signature market and the KYC market. And these are global numbers. Our experience is that in Europe, where we have our main target, we see similar growth over the coming years, and we experience that every day. So it's really a growing market that we are entering and tapping into, and that we are basing our expansion on. And if you take the next slide. Here, that's our growth acceleration. So the way we see our growth going forward is we will grow in existing markets, and existing markets have primarily been Denmark and then Norway and Sweden, and then now also some of the other ones like Belgium. have a clear focus on growing in these existing markets, but also, as a second part, have a geographical expansion into new markets in Europe. And how we would do that? Yeah, that is basically to have some investment streams, and one of them is to upsell our Penneo KYC product to the auditors. Our KYC product was something that we bought as part of an acquisition last year, or it was in late 2020, and we are now with that product. We have the opportunity to sell it to all the auditors that have a need to it. We have approximately 700 auditors today, so that's one of the investment streams, and where we see the growth. The second is that we would like to penetrate AML government industries with our both KYC and sign product. That's for example, the finance. We have more than 250 finance customers, and we see a growing need for both our KYC and a sign. So it's really have basically more focus on that than we have so far, and invest in that. And the third part is expansion through the audit and accounting vertical into Europe. So simply enter new markets. And as part of that growth, we announced here last week that we have raised capital. So we have raised additionally 60 million Danish kroner to help us fuel this growth acceleration with investments in these three areas. So that's something that we are very happy about, that we have succeeded with. So that's going forward, how we will see it. If you take the next slide, then we can see some numbers, and I will hand over to you, Kasper, to look at how it has been so far.
Yes, thank you, Christian. And looking forward is a matter of also looking backwards when you are a SaaS company, since our future growth is built on top of our current portfolio. This slide is all our cohorts since we start out in 14, and we divide all our customers into the year they became customers. And this is the yearly value that our customers bring into Penneo. What is pretty unique for Penneo is that all our cohorts are growing year over year over year. So if you, for instance, see the dark blue column in the bottom here, you will see that this is the customers coming in at 14, and the number is growing, meaning that when one customer is churning, the other customers uplift their annual subscription more than the customer was churned. Next slide. And this is a 12 months look backwards. You can see that we overall have growth by 50%, and half of it, approx, is coming from the current customer base uplift, net annual recurring uplift on 124%, and on top of that, we also add new customers in. This is the first report where we divided our uplift and our new biz into the two revenue lines that we have. As you saw on the slide that Christian presented, we have now two revenue streams, especially for the audit segment, but also the AML regulated segment. And we now start see that we are gaining also revenue from this new and second revenue line. Next slide. This is also the first time in this report that we have chosen to disclose our foreign markets revenue coming in from the foreign markets. And what we are seeing here is that we are growing from 7 to 14 million on the market outside of Denmark. And this is a part of our European go-to-market strategy that we want to focus and also put more pressure into the market outside of Denmark, ensuring that we can get new customers in and also uplift on the customers going forward. Next slide. This is our unit numbers. What I just want to highlight is that the entire 21, we got 530 customers in on an average on approximately 90,000 the first year. And on the next slide, you will see that we have disclosed how much customers is uplifting the first 5 years. Then you can do your calculation of CAC compared to the value, lifetime value on a customer. What you see is that we now have approximately 27,000 costs for new customers coming in. So it takes a bit more than a year to gain that revenue to pay for the customers. Yeah, and what you saw on the previous slide is that when you uplift on your current customer base, meaning that the average customers there is growing, and you also grow the average ARR first year for the new customers coming in, then you see that this total ARPA is also growing. So yeah, we are satisfied about this numbers. If you take next slide. This is our P&L, and in 2020 we raised 15 million when we became listed on Nasdaq First North, and what you saw was that we increased our growth in our customer base, and now we see the result in the revenue. So I think that this kind of a proof that we have done this S-curve one time before, and now we, as Christian said, has raised further capital to do it once more. Yeah, next slide.
And then I will take over from here. So this is regarding our guidance for ARR. And if we just look back from when we went IPO'd, in the IPO we had a guidance of 38 to 43 until H1, and we succeeded that by achieving 48. When we started the annual report a year ago, we said between 52 and 57, and we realized 55. And then looking forward from our growth this year, we have now guided that we will expect to be within 77 to 82. And that if that is, you compare that up against 55, then it will be year-on-year growth of 40 to 49. So we will simply continue the growth as we have seen, and that is based on 3 factors. Continue to low churn, as you saw on the first slide. We are very happy about having a churn. Now last year was around 2, but if we can have it 2, 3, 4%, that will be very good. And then it's a combination of both the uplift, so where we sell more to existing customer. As we have seen so far, we expect that will continue, combined with that we will also have a new business. And that will be both within our Sign product and within our KYC. And at the same time, we also expect to continue to grow in our out of Denmark, both in Denmark, but also all the countries outside as part of our European expansion. So that is what is part of it. From our guidance on the EBITDA, then we have guided -5 to -10. These guidance are right now based on, and we went out in our annual report before we raised the additional capital. So that's based on those assumptions that we had before. Now we have raised additional capital, and we are now starting to execute on those plans. Our expectation is for those investments, that is what can secure the growth into 23 and onwards. Yes, so this is our guidance. So we will continue the growth as we have had it. Then on our last part here, if you take the next slide, that is we have announced already in June, so a long time ago, that we will go from First North here in Copenhagen to the main market and being listed there. And we have got several questions around that on when and is this a long process or not. And here we have now shown the process that is really from a formal point of view. You have to go through a lot of steps getting approved a listing prospect, and we are following that plan accurately and expect that our first day of trading on the main market will be the April the 4th, so the Monday, the April the 1st. So that is So that's following that plan. And the main reason for doing on the main market is as we grow and become as a company more and more mature, we will, and with our European expansion, we will also very much like to be on a platform where we can attract investors from more and more abroad. Now we have, with our capital raise, we have got some industrial investors to back us up. So we now have some really strong corner investors that can support us. But of course, we are up to attracting many more shareholders. So we hope by listing on the main market that we can have that as an attraction in addition. So that basically ends our formal presentation. And I will now hand it over to you, Jesper, or any others, if you have any questions to these things.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for your presentation. You just raised these another 60 million kroner, which will be used at least partly to increase your workforce, as far as I can understand. But I don't think it's a secret that IT professionals are in high demand at the moment. To what extent will that impact your ability to actually deploy the newly raised money and hire the required amount of people?
Yes, that's true. That one of the main challenges that we and other companies have is the war for talent. We have been working with this for a long time, and we have seen that we are able to attract some great talent. And I expect that despite the fact that it is a hard time, that with our culture and our ability to execute, that we continue to be able to attract the talent that we need. But it is true, it is a clear focus area. So if you looked up in our value creation plan, this is one of the things, you know, they really develop our team and making good career opportunities for them is part of together with our culture to attract talent.
Okay, thank you. A follow-up to that regarding the capital raise. How well capitalized are you after the capital raise, and what would you be looking at if you were to use some of the new money to finance further M&A, if that's an option?
Would you answer that?
Yeah, I can. I think the most important thing to understand by the money raised is the 4 new investors getting on board. So if Jesper, if you find any good thing, you can give me a heads up, and we also have internally eyes on what's possible out there. I believe that we now have friends, so it's not just the money we have raised, but it's also a matter of getting the right investors on board so we can grow along with them.
But the main focus for the capital raise is what we showed on the slide with the growth acceleration. So investing, so we can now do it quicker than we anticipated before. That was the whole point of raising for now. But it was also a clear thing for us to have the right investors on board, to have being backed by somebody who can help going forward.
Okay, you talk about growing faster there. And that leads me to my next question, which goes to your guidance. And Christian, you spoke a bit about that. You're guiding for, I think it's a 40 to 49% ARR growth in 2022, which is impressive. But that was under the assumption that you would not raise any cash in 2022. And now you raised the money, and we only just entered March. What keeps you from adjusting your guidance?
Because we just raised it and got the money before yesterday. So we had plans on how to execute on, and we will now start being launched. But until we have that fully settled, the guidance stays as it is. And the thing what it can do is now we can start doing these investments, get the people on board. So both before, but also now, we will never use more cash than we have. So all our things was based on that we will never run out of cash. Now we had this plan and all, so now that we succeeded, we can start launching. But there is a delay to that. So for us, when we accelerate the growth, we can do some of the investments, is both in product and sales and marketing. Of course, as soon as that goes into, okay, now we expect to have higher growth already this year, we will go out with an updated guidance. But it's really for also for the coming years that will support us. So as soon as we have the plans ready, then we will go out if necessary.
Okay, and is it reasonable to assume that if you grow faster, your EBITDA guidance will be lower, i.e. more into the negative territory?
Correct.
Okay.
It will typically the same way as we have done so far since the IPO, basically. So we go down, use more and more, so we front load it and then go up again. And it will always end up being cash positive again before we run out of cash. Okay,
great. Moving on to your KYC solution, you just started reporting separately on that, and ARR stands at, was it 3.4 million kroner, out of a total ARR of 56 million kroner. What are your feelings regarding the potential in upselling the KYC solution to existing clients of yours who are only using your signing solution?
We see that for what we call the audit and accounting and the AML regulators, those two segments, the tiers, they have a clear need. It's basically mandatory to have a solution in place. And many of them might either have a manual processes or a simple solution. So there's a clear need for a KYC solution. So for us, it's an excellent fit into our offerings and the type of dialogue we have. So we do expect that we have a good potential by upselling it to existing customers. What we could also see on that slide was upselling to existing customers, but there was also some called basically new biz, where the KYC itself was the first product that the customer bought, and then we expect that then they can add on or at the same time buy the sign. So it basically helps us with both upselling to existing and making new biz.
Okay. Regarding your upselling, and then, I mean, looking at one of your other SaaS metrics, the net retention ratio, it looks really strong, probably one of the strongest in the Nordics at 124%. But on one of your previous slides, you indicated that your net retention has historically been around 116.5%. How do those numbers compare, and what should we expect for the future? Will it be closer to 116.5 or?
I would expect, so 124 is a high number. So at least from a mathematical point of view, it might be more difficult as our growth, as we grow, to keep it as high. On the other hand, now we have shown that we with success had added additional revenue stream, like adding a KYC product. So of course, going in the future, as we also saw on the slide with the beachhead strategy and the audit and accounting, we saw that we had one in light blue, that we also always looking at, could we add other revenue stream, either investments, or it could also be, we're going to make or buy, but one of them. So we add more revenue stream to it. And the focus on that is always to have more to sell to existing customers.
Okay, but maybe you could just elaborate on the 116.5%, and I think that was one of your slides, Kasper.
I can do it. It's built on all our cohorts the first 5 years that the customers became customers. And what you can see is that when you, at the end October 2020, we acquired the CLA Reply, who has this software on their clients. And up until the first half year last year, we're building the product more scalable, meaning that all the servers and so on being ready for onboarding big clients like Big Four, and also outside of Denmark. It was built for the Danish market, get all the data from CVR.dk, and that now we have built it up to Dun & Bradstreet instead. So now you start see, and that's a part of this numbers. Now you start see we have 2 revenue lines, but we still gave out this past records for the cohorts. The average uplift every year when you take all our cohorts and see this the first 5 years.
Okay, makes sense. I'm afraid that time is flying, guys, and we have to make room for the next company, which is Formpipe, as I recall. But thank you guys for taking part today. Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Bye.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.